to refute your argument. So the question here is, do you really want the government to have power over whether you get to live or die? I mean, ultimately, what they're saying here is that you're giving the option of autonomy to choose whether you get to live or die. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not really up to you. Like they mentioned, they have to go to doctors to have them prescribe the medications for them, to have them decide whether or not you actually get to live or die. The option is not yours. You're just going to a doctor to give it to you. That's not really autonomy now, is it? So, I'm going to tell you about how continuing this law is also going to be ethically wrong and how it undermines the basis of the law. Okay, so the only purpose for which power can be rightly exercised over any member of a civilized community against his will is to prevent harm to others. That is the point. His own good, either physical or moral, is not a sufficient warrant. According to David Swanton, Welcome to Ethical Rights. So, if the whole point of deciding whether a person is going to do any harm to anyone is supposed to be illegal, then how is physician-assisted suicide legal? Doctors are ultimately going to kill a patient, and that is against the law. You're not supposed to kill anyone, just like Michael said. You know, he had a religious standpoint. I'm telling you that legally, that's illegal. So, the victims that would be under physician-assisted suicide, according to Nicholas Beale, are predominantly the most disadvantaged members of society: the old, the poor, the disabled, the infirm, and the unemployed. Because continuing a medication is going to be expensive. So here you're offering them an inexpensive way out, which doesn't seem fair. Insurance isn't going to cover it. And maybe there should be a plan in effect that could, I don't know, create a way that would be more cost effective to continue a life. Have anyone ever thought about that? No, you're jumping to the conclusion of just murdering somebody. And in places where physician-assisted suicide is already legal, according to Kenneth Stevens from Physician-Assisted Suicide in Euthanasia, they wrote a journal about the psychological effects of physician-assisted suicide in euthanasia on the participating physicians. And one of the physicians said, "I wonder what it would be like not to have these cases in my practice. Perhaps I would be a much more cheerful person." So even doctors don't want to do it. I don't understand why this has become a legal thing. Why would you want this to continue? Many more people would be unhappy. It's not just about the patient, it's about the entire world as a whole. You're going to make one person happy, but you're going to cause physicians that have to do it, they're going to become unhappy because they don't want to kill people. Your family's going to be really sad because you're going to die anyway, eventually. And that is going to be the worst part for them if you have to leave earlier. According to Jane Brody, a tough question to answer, a tough answer to hear, as one physician interviewed anonymously by the Journal of American Medical Association put it, when we prognosticate and it turns out that the patient lives a longer life, then we can be joyous with them. But when we prognosticate and the patient ends up living a far shorter time, that's when we really do harm. Which is actually true. My grandfather ended up getting 3 extra months after he was diagnosed with a terminally ill disease. And those extra 3 months were everything to our family. We got to spend extra time with him. We got to be there with him. And why not have that option for your family too, instead of choosing to just end it all in one day? This would also undermine the basis of trust between doctors and patients that is the heart of effective medicine. According to Nicholas Beale, Non-Religious Arguments Against Euthanasia, Trust is everything between a patient and his doctor. And after all, do you really want to have a option to have a one-stop shop where you could pop in your inconvenient relatives and for a suitable fee, euthanasia them in your lunch hour? Doesn't that sound like a terrible way to die? I would rather be surrounded by my family in a loving manner and choose palliative care because that's an option. Thank you for your time.